Now Weezy on the track, boy.
The signature red, white, and blue C logo is a longtime symbol of quality and authenticity, the logo of a champion. Champion clothing has been around for over 100 years now, leading the way in the sportswear market. The accolades of Champion brand displays a history of innovation, quality, and reliability. They exploded onto the streetwear scene in the 80s and 90s, experiencing a wave of hype. But somewhere along the line, they fell off and all but disappeared. However, as of late, as we all know, they're enjoying a resurgence in popularity. Ever wonder how a century-old brand could gain a foothold in the street market, only to fall off and bounce back years later? Well, let's find out. I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com, and this is the rise and fall and rise again of Champion. But before we get started, please take a second to hit the necessary buttons that help us continue to grow. I say it every episode, so I really don't have to go through the whole spiel again. But with that being said, Champion was established in 1919's Rockefeller, New York by Simon Feinblum and his sons, William and Abraham. Originally, it was called Knickerbocker Knitting Company, and thank God they changed that. I mean, could you imagine if it was still called Knickerbocker Knitting Company to this day? Very 19th century. Wisely, a few years after launch, the company rebranded as Champion Knitting Mills and refocused on durable, high-quality sportswear. Champion was originally created as a wholesale clothing company, but the Feinblum brothers soon noticed that there was a lack of high-quality clothing for athletes. So they switched their focus to manufacturing comfortable and durable sportswear. The sweatshirt was first introduced as a wool undergarment for outdoor workers, but shockingly enough, it also served a dual role for keeping athletes warm during winter games. The Champion sweatshirt was first noticed by the Michigan Wolverines, who became the first of many collegiate sports teams to be outfitted by Champion. It didn't take long for Champion to be picked up by many other colleges, and before you knew it, it became a fashion fave for athletes and non-athletes alike. The now iconic C logo actually wasn't designed until the 50s. Prior to that, the logo was a guy running across a finish line. But gradually, the brand transitioned to the legendary C that we all know and love today. In the 60s, Champion officially partnered with the NCAA. And after garnering a foothold in college sports, they became the official outfitter for the NFL in the 70s. And then, in the 90s, Champion was chosen for the official kit maker of the NBA. With that, their reputation skyrocketed. Beloved athletes across all major sports were wearing the signature logo on TVs across the country, and this promoted fans to rush over to their local stores, offering up their money to try to get in on the action. Champion apparel was used for all of the NBA merchandise, and it spread far outside of the sports industry. Their clothing could be seen in movies, concerts, skate parks, and the hip-hop scene. Thing is, Champion made what was known as quote-unquote replica jerseys. Now, in this case, replica doesn't mean fake. Basically, before the Mitchell and Ness boom, there were game-worn jerseys and there were the much more accessible replica jerseys. You could buy the game-style authentic jersey, but they were insanely expensive. Most people in the general public tended to opt for the replica version, and Champion cornered this market. Due to their more inclusive prices, Champion sold way more replica jerseys. Kids all over the country had at least one or two of them in their collection. Champion also designed jerseys for the OG Dream Team in the 1992 Olympics, arguably the best basketball team in the history of the event, but hey, maybe I'm nostalgic. And this would only serve to further cement Champion in the culture. In the 80s and 90s, this was the golden era for the brand. Their association with sports lent Champion significant credibility as a performance brand. In the 90s, their oversized jerseys, sweats, and logo-driven designs became an integral part of casual streetwear, particularly within the hip-hop culture. But Champion was still primarily seen as an athletic brand during this era. Back in '89, Champion had been purchased by the Sara Lee Corporation. And at that time, the corporation was mainly focused on food, but it wanted to expand their reach into the apparel industry as well. Now, one might have thought that this was a terrible idea, but they actually managed it well, in the beginning at least. In the 90s, Sara Lee invested in expanding and distributing Champion, giving the brand a huge boost and overseeing its most hyped era up until that point. But eventually, this move would come back to bite them in the keister. As the sports apparel market became more competitive, brands like Nike, Adidas, and Reebok started to dominate the landscape. These companies, who were more geared towards creating clothing for sports, introduced bold designs, high-tech innovations, and massive endorsements with many of the top athletes of the day. Sensing that this was no longer free money, Sara Lee returned their focus back on the food industry and all of a sudden stopped paying attention to Champion, which only further hurt the brand. Geez, how did we not see that coming? Champion's more traditional designs struggled to keep pace with the flashy, performance-driven trends of the early 2000s. Not to mention, streetwear was exploding onto the scene, and sportswear, or more specifically jerseys, began to look a bit passé. To add insult to injury, in 2004, Champion's contract with the NBA expired. Now without major visibility that came from outfitting sports athletes, Champion further fell out of favor with both sports and streetwear consumers. Throughout the early 2000s, Champion became a brand more associated with bargain bin retailers, particularly here in the US, and was seen as an outdated lower tier line. By then, Sara Lee could care less. They farmed Champion out to anyone who wanted to carry it, reputation be damned. Finally, in 2006, Sara Lee had had enough and spun off its clothing division, which included Champion, Hanes, Playtex, and other apparel brands, into a separate entity called Hanes Brand Incorporated. The new direction saw the suits taking more pride in the legacy of Champion, as they made efforts to restore its prestige. Suddenly, the very same genre that helped usher Champion out of trendiness turned around and accepted them with open arms. In the 2010s, fashion trends began to shift again. Streetwear brands, along with hip-hop culture, started to embrace retro aesthetic. Logomania, or the trend of wearing gaudy logos and branded clothing, made a comeback. With this revival of 90s culture, Champion, known for its iconic C logo, stood poised to capitalize. And capitalize they did. Champion's revival wasn't just a passing trend. By 2015, the brand had solidified its place in the modern streetwear landscape. The oversized Champion reverse weave hoodie became a streetwear essential, embraced for its simplicity, comfort, and retro appeal. Today, Champion is positioned as a key player in the streetwear. Their collaborations with both high fashion and underground brands have kept them relevant. They've worked with everyone from Supreme, Bape, Stussy, and Kit, cementing its place in the pantheon of streetwear icons. Champion also expanded its international presence as well. In Japan, they've long been regarded as a premium brand, and this perception helped elevate the brand's status globally. Champion seized on its second wind by opening standalone stores, including flagship locations in cities like New York, Tokyo, and London. Champion has experienced the roller coaster ride of a lifespan. From the Knickerbocker era to the king of sports to obscurity, only to rebound as a streetwear staple. If nothing else, this shows that the right mix of heritage, nostalgia, and cultural relevance can turn a fading brand into a fashion powerhouse. Not to mention, many of the OG replica jerseys from the 90s now command a huge price on the secondary retro market, even in worn and aged states. This is a testament to the long-lasting legacy Champion built during the golden era that carries over to this very day. Not many brands can rep this level of longevity in this space. So for Champion, I'd say that they've lived up to their name. But what do you think? Did you own any Champion jerseys during the golden era? Do you have any of the streetwear era stuff? Or better yet, is it as durable and comfortable as its reputation suggests? Hit us up in the comment section and let us know. And if you made it this far, Obviously you enjoyed the video, so we hope that you hit that like button for us. Liking and sharing these is the only way to get the YouTube algorithms to notice us. And if you want to be updated whenever a new episode drops, then hit the subscribe button and then the notification bell. That way you can be dinged when each new video is released. But with that being said, I'm Nate the Great from TakeFlight214.com signing out. Until next time, peace.